Hi, my name's Brian. I am here in my darkroom to do an unboxing of this Intrepid camera that I just received. So in front of me I have the Shen-Hao PTB 45, the new Black Edition Intrepid, and the Chamonix 45N1. These three cameras are all somewhat similar. The Chamonix has been my camera for quite a while. You might be able to tell it's kind of beat up. I've probably hiked with this at least 1,000 miles. And this Shen-Hao is something I got recently and wanted to give it a try. And of course the new Intrepid. The Intrepid is most similar to the Chamonix, with the Shen-Hao being more of a technical camera with a lot more different types of movements. Shen-Hao also makes a more similar model to the Chamonix, but I don't have that one. And I just wanted to take a look first at the weight. So I've got a scale here. So first, the Intrepid weighs 1,112 grams. Let's see, that's 2 pounds, 7.2 ounces. The Chamonix, and this is the lightest, oldest model again, is 1,382 grams, which is 3 pounds and 8/10 of an ounce. And finally, the Shen-Hao, which is again more of a technical camera, and definitely the heaviest, is just shy of 2,500 grams and 5 pounds and 8 ounces. So this is quite a significant difference, even between the Chamonix and the Intrepid. So moving on, I wanted to talk a little bit about the differences in these cameras, especially between the Chamonix and the Intrepid. So the Chamonix has the same kind of worm gear focusing as the Intrepid. Now the first thing I noticed out of the box is that the focus turning is backwards. So to focus out on the Chamonix, you turn it clockwise, while on the Intrepid you turn it counterclockwise, which will probably take me quite a bit to get used to, and seems slightly unintuitive to me. The also thing I noticed about the worm gear is the front screw is shown right here, and it doesn't seem to be captured by anything. It's just kind of hanging there, and the whole assembly when you're focusing it is very rough. It's certainly not anywhere as smooth as a Chamonix. Probably could put some grease in there maybe, but it feels, maybe it might just be mechanical, especially because that screw just seems to be kind of flopping around here, and kind of very strange to me that they didn't put something on the baseboard here to hold that screw in the front. But it does work, and I suppose that barring any kind of extreme wind, it shouldn't be a problem. In terms of the front still is very stable, just doesn't feel great focusing it. Now the other thing, big difference I've noticed so far on the Chamonix and the Intrepid is the Chamonix has quite a number of ways to lock the movements down. There are movable pieces here that lock so that you can't do any tilt. You can still do rise and fall, but once these are unlocked, then you can do your tilt. So that's how they achieve the different movements, but not having to do them independently. While on the Intrepid, there doesn't seem to be any locking pieces to do that. They use two different screws. One is outside and one is inside, that control the two different movements on the front, which that's fine, but in terms of getting back to your zero detents, there is nothing like that as far as I can tell here. So that's a little bit disappointing. It seems easy enough to copy the Chamonix design here, with some pieces here on the bottom that would go out and lock into here, though that would also inhibit the front fall if you went too far, because it actually does have a limit here. So on the Chamonix you can see kind of a similar mechanism, that this part impacts down there, but if you do unlock the tilt, you can go much further. So the total amount of fall on the Chamonix seems to be quite a bit more. The same is true on the back standard. When you unlock the back tilt, there is nothing to stop it when you reach vertical. It automatically goes past vertical to probably close to 30 degrees. So getting your camera back perfectly vertical, you'll have to use the levels here. While the Chamonix again uses some pieces that come out here to lock and unlock the rear tilt, and when they are engaged, you can't go any past 90 degrees. I really like that. It makes this super fast to set up. Most of the time, I'm shooting flat to the subject, so I don't tend to use rear tilt. So I really like that. On this one, I have to be extra careful that everything's in focus and there isn't any extra tilt on the back. Now, something changed on the Intrepid, which is actually a little bit better than the Chamonix, is the Intrepid has an actual rotating back. So I really like this because it's much quicker and easier, and you don't accidentally have the possibility of dropping your ground glass and shattering it. On the Chamonix, there are these little latches, which you unlock. The entire back comes off. So again, I've definitely dropped this a couple times. Luckily, I haven't broken anything, but this is how you change from horizontal to vertical orientation. And I believe the Intrepid already, the original one, was the lightest camera ever made with a rotating back here, where the back is captured and does not come off. And this is quite a great design. I really, really like that. That's something that I'm really pleased to see on this. It has traditional spring back. This is, I believe, a graph lock back. I'm not quite sure how to take the ground glass off yet. I haven't. Oh, there you go. So similar to the Chamonix, you have to lift up the springs to take off the back, and then these, just like most graph lock back cameras, latches will hold down a roll film back or any other kind of back that you might use, say a 6x17 extension back. So that's good to see again, a graph lock or international back. And it was very easy to put back on. It's a great feature. So overall, I'm very happy with the weight. The weight is incredible. I obviously haven't used it at all yet, so that will be my next task. I'm still noticing some things, like it has both a 3/8 and 1/4 inch tripod mounts here. I was a little bit worried. This bottom plate is so thin. I was curious as to how the tripod mounts would made up to that without bottoming out, but it's actually cut directly all the way through the bottom, so till it goes all the way through. I suppose that if you had some kind of weird tripod mount that had a really long screw, you actually might end up hitting the focus worm gear. So that might be something to watch out for. Overall, I think the camera, while being a bit rough around the edges, it doesn't feel nearly as precise or smooth as the Chamonix, and certainly nowhere near something like the Shen-Hao, but it's pretty good. And for the price, I mean, it's pretty amazing what they've packed in here. And here I actually mentioned that the front standard, just like the Chamonix, uses different screw holes to use different types of lenses, and that is very different than the Chamonix, that there are different placements with different lengths between each one. The Chamonix is equal distance between each screw hole, and I think there's another 1, 2, 3, 4, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. So there's more screw holes on the Chamonix. So you can go all the way out. This is as far back as you can get. And actually, I have a 58mm lens here that I would love to see if it works on this camera. On the Intrepid website, you'll find the specs with the longest and shortest focal lengths that they suggest. And generally, it seems that they don't suggest this camera with really short focal lengths. but that's what they say. Let's see what actually happens when I put a 58mm lens. Now this is the Schneider 58mm XL, one of my favorite lenses. This is also on a, oh wait, no, this is the Nikon. Wrong lens. This is the 58, and I have this on a flat board. This is because this is how I normally use it. I don't use this on a recessed board because it doesn't work very well on a recessed board on my Linhof Master Technica. So, this lens is now at the rearmost screw hole and is all the way focused at the minimum focus distance. And I can already tell that it's way out of focus. It's focusing about down to here. So, yeah, definitely not going to be usable on this without possibly a recessed lens board. So I'll have to play around with that, but for the time being, I imagine that the shortest lens I would be using on this camera is going to be a 90mm. So I'll grab that here. So the 90mm, and this is on a recessed lens board, so it has no problem focusing. So my light over here, I just focused it, and so that's about 10 feet away, and so we got plenty of space. So I will definitely be taking this as soon as I am actually able to get out of the house, social distancing and such. But for now, that is my first look at the Intrepid 4x5 Black Edition.